wanted to share a learning trick I've been using that's proven to be unbelievably useful. I've been using it for programming, but it applies to any kind of broad and detailed topic, and especially applies in the way that we currently, find and take in information today. If I had to describe it in one word, or one phrase, it's create your own single source of truth. And I guess the easiest way is just to show what I'm talking about. So essentially, what I started doing, and I kind of stumbled across this, was creating a cheat sheet. And I started it when I was doing this first course I did, but now it's relevant to everything that I'm doing. And essentially, what I was doing was starting to, as I learned stuff, watch, because I was watching videos. That was kind of my main thing. And I realized that to find a clip in a video that talks about something would be really difficult. And scrubbing through videos is really weird. You can't search them easily. So I just started like copying and pasting screenshots or putting in my own information into these. Yeah, so here you can see like these are like screenshots, or just like typing my own stuff into these things, or into this one page. And this page kind of over time started to grow and grow. And what I realized was that I was actually creating kind of like my own textbook. But I was actually writing all of this stuff. Like this is all my writing. It's except for some code snippets, some of it is copy and pasting. A lot of it is like stuff that I've done and just pasted in here. And now what this has become is this kind of like textbook of mine and a reference manual. So let's say, for example, the other thing I should note here is that I created this table of contents, which is a Notion, gives these to you for free. So anything with a heading shows up in this table of contents. So, you can see all the different topics that I've written stuff about. And by giving the headings different sizes, you can indent things. And so it's kind of organized, but kind of doesn't matter if it's organized or not, because let's say, for example, optionals were like brutal for me and I didn't understand them. But every time I had a problem, I was like, oh shit, how do you handle these things? So now I would just come to this document. I'd be like, okay, I think I have a shortcut, optionals. Yeah. So just kind of like find all the text and I just be like, oh yeah, there it is, optionals. I don't know if that's too big or too small. And so I just kind of like come here and I'd be like, oh yeah, okay, all right, this thing. I didn't know what it was called. I still kind of don't know. I don't remember what it's called, but I'm like, oh yeah, the double question mark thing. And I'd come in here and I'd have some examples that I would put in and be like, oh, it's okay, that's how that works. And what's been really powerful too is that by writing this stuff myself, I'm kind of teaching myself what it is. I'm explaining it to myself like as if I'm teaching me. So you're kind of building this teacher level understanding and not just an understanding of like as you watch something and you're like, okay, yeah, I understand. That makes sense. That didn't stick for me. It's looking at a tutorial and being like, yep, I understand what they did was very different from understanding a concept and then using it myself. And so when I come back here and I look at something like, let's say, optional binding, I can read this and say, oh yeah, that's kind of what, like now I understand that it's in my own words. And what I also found was that my understanding was changing over time. So I would come back here and I would read this and I'd say like, oh, that's actually not completely right. And I would rewrite it and that would kind of like cement my new understanding of the thing. And so this document you can see how long it is. It's insane. I think you can see how many words. Yeah, 26,000 words. Like it's literally like, I mean, just the table of contents is like several pages, but you can see how long this thing is. And this is like 6 months of just kind of like slowly building what's become my textbook. And this has been unbelievably useful. A couple of like small like notes, tricks here. Actually, let me just go to the top. One of the tricks I used was like having a questions for friends piece at the end. Where is it? It's right at the end. Yeah, questions for friends. And this is kind of where I would put like my questions so I wouldn't bother people like every single day, 50 times a day, because that's how many times I was just wondering what the hell was going on or what was what. So I just kind of put these in here. These are older. I haven't gone through them. But that's a nice little handy thing to just kind of assemble. And then when you get to sit with one of your friends for like half an hour, you just know right where to go and just to get these answers. Something else that I did was I created different sheets for different topics. So this one is about interface design. Um, I have one for animations, which I've just started. So you can see kind of this one's very short. It's just a few things because I'm just getting into that. I have one for Firebase related stuff here. And then I have one for just kind of like tips, little shortcuts and stuff like that, which I used to like write on paper, but I found I was like adding to and it was annoying because I had to like rewrite everything every time like I ran out of space on the page. So um, I started putting it in here and that's been much nicer and easier to manage. So that's kind of the idea. And what's interesting to me, just as a side note right at the end here, is that this is very much like the way we used to learn in school, which was with textbooks. Your textbook was effectively your one source of truth, and it was your one reference. And going into the back of your textbook was like going into the table of contents and hitting Command F and saying, errors was like going into your index of the textbook and then going straight to the page where you had your the information that you were looking for. And in the modern world where there is no single source of truth, you're taking stuff from videos and sources online and all kinds of other places like conversations. You kind of have to create your own textbook. But I can see this being one of the most valuable documents for the rest of the time I'm programming in my life. This isn't a temporary thing. So that was something I kind of stumbled on that I wanted to share. I've been reflecting on all the ways that I've learned that's been different from the way I've learned in the past when I was in school, kind of like the adult version of learning and how different that is. And I'll share more things as I have the time to kind of create some videos. But for now, I'll just kind of drop this in here and hopefully that's useful.